Come wish Marana a happy birthday at the annual Marana Founders Day Parade and festivities. Enjoy live music, historical and cultural attractions, and the biggest little parade in Arizona. We'll see you on Saturday, March 18th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Marana Main Street outside the Marana Municipal Complex. The parade starts at 10 a.m. Festivities follow it after. Visit maranaaz.gov/events for more information.
This episode includes discussions of public safety scenarios and may be triggering for some listeners. Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with the Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry Rozema. I'm the town manager and host for Real Talk. And today I have back with me again our police chief. Reuben, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Reuben Nunez.
All right, and Reuben has been on the show with us before where we talked about rising crime. We explained that, talked a little bit about apartments, but today we're going to talk about another issue, and that is specifically homelessness. But before we get into that, Reuben, I got a little icebreaker for you.
Okay.
Icebreaker here is, of all the fundraising and community engagement programs that you've been involved with here at MPD, which one's your favorite?
You know, Terry, I love them all.
That's the answer of a great dad, man, talking about his kids. I love them all.
I do, and it benefits the community. I mean, everything we do with Special Olympics to the golf tournament that benefits the Diamond Children's Center at Banner, to working with interfaith groups during Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, they're all great opportunities for us to really get out there and help the community. Yeah,
there's a lot of cool. I miss that. I have to be honest with you. I miss that. I miss the the Shop with a Cop events and the turkey giveaways and all of those things. Those are really enjoyable things, and you get to see the looks on the families' faces, the kids' faces. Very, very rewarding. So this next one, and I'm not going to read what was sent in because it's literally half of a page. But I'll get kind of to the overall, and I may read portions of it at various times as we talk. But this one's dealing with homelessness and wanting to know what the town of Marana is doing with trash, homeless camps, individuals soliciting money. They specifically call out Ina and Thornydale, but you could probably call out Cortero and Arizona Pavilions. In a few other locations where we seem to have gatherings, and let's just start with that. Let's talk about: is there a homeless problem? Do you see that here in our community? And what are we doing about it, Chief?
Yeah, I guess the best way to answer that, Terry, is to say that homelessness is a societal issue that requires a multidisciplinary approach to solve it. Right. Now, law enforcement is certainly one of those disciplines, but when you combine that with other disciplines that deal with issues such as mental health, substance abuse, medical conditions, housing, job training, and job placement, you have sort of a holistic approach to solving that. Policing alone cannot solve the problem. We simply cannot arrest away the issue of homelessness. And I say this kind of jokingly, but you don't find homelessness as you don't find it in Title 13. It's not against the law to be homeless.
It's not against the law to be homeless, right?
And the other thing you find about homelessness is there's not a single one-size-fits-all solution, because if there were, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be facing it. And yes, there has been an increase in the number of homeless people we see out there. A lot of it is seasonal. During the GEM show, we see a large influx of homeless-type individuals come into our communities. But the latest
and why is that? Tell the listeners why that is. Why we see such a significant increase as we get closer to February. Why do we see such an increase in homelessness?
Well, my experience has been they have a following. The GEM show vendors have a following of individuals that follow them. Many of them support the trade. Mm-hmm. Others are there for opportunities, opportunities to steal things and do those kinds of things. But yeah, we usually see an increase during that time.
Yeah, very good.
I did want to say there is a the latest panacea going around is providing the homeless with homes or shelters. Again, I think this is a very myopic view on the complexities of homelessness altogether. It doesn't take it all together. Remember, these people had homes before, and something in their lives caused them to no longer have shelter and whatnot. And the other thing to keep in mind is, these people are suffering.
Yeah.
This is a humanity issue. So I feel for our citizens who are concerned and are fearful of them, but I think we need to take a different approach in dealing with the homeless issue.
Yeah. So what do you think that approach is? I mean, you hit on a number of really significant things there, and one is it's not really truly or solely a police issue, because it's not against the law to be homeless. Some of the things that are described in what was sent is panhandling, right? So is panhandling, asking people for money, is that against the law?
It is, but only when it's considered aggressive. And I think I brought a copy of the Title 13 because I couldn't remember that right off the top of my head. So let me just get right to that.
Because my understanding, Chief, and it's been a couple years since I've been in the profession now, so I've forgot a few things. But my understanding is freedom of speech allows you to ask people for things.
Correct.
But so there used to be, you couldn't panhandle, you couldn't even ask people for money, and then the courts ruled that's illegal. You can't tell people they can't ask for money. That's freedom of speech, and you're quashing their freedom of speech. So they can stand there with a sign, they can say, hey, you got any spare change? They can say that. But what the court has said is they can't do it aggressively.
So it happens when a person solicits money or any other things of value, or solicits the sale of goods or services within 15 feet of any bank entrance or exit, or any automated teller machine, if the person does not have permission to be there. In a public area, intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly making any physical contact with or touching another person in the course of solicitation. Approaching or following a person being solicited in a manner that is intended or is likely to cause a reasonable person to fear imminent bodily harm.
And continues to follow you and ask you. Yeah.
Yes. Continuing to solicit the person after the person being solicited has clearly communicated a request that the solicitation stop. And intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly obstructing the safe or free passage of the person being solicited, or requiring the person to take evasive action to avoid physical contact.
So basically getting in their way if they're trying to walk down the sidewalk and stepping in front of them. And
correct, exactly. So, that would qualify as aggressive panhandling.
So that's illegal. So let me ask you this. Is it illegal for them to stand on the street corner and hold a sign saying, we'll work for food, or just need some spare change, or I'm not going to lie, I just need money for a beer? I mean, is that...
That depends, and it depends on the type of property that's there. So, for example, there's the off-ramp there off of, what is that, Quatero Farms Road and I-10. That's owned by the state, and the state has signs clearly stating no trespassing, right? But if a person walks over to a corner, a store, and there's no signage that says you cannot trespass here, then our response is we get there, we make contact with the owners, we find out if they do in fact have a standing no trespassing What's the word I'm looking
notice
for here?
Or
Notice, exactly. And then we take action. First, we start off by just warning them and saying, hey, you can't be here. The owners, have a no trespassing notice posted here. You can't be here. Give them that warning first. But the most important thing we do when we first encounter these people, and you got to understand that public safety and public health really guides our response to these things. So the first thing we do is we offer resources.
Right.
You and I have done this when we've made contact with them. We'll buy them a burger, or, give them some clothes or things like that. But now more importantly, and you mentioned this, recently there was a court decision called Martin versus Boise. And it states that homeless persons cannot be punished for, sleeping on bus stops, sleeping in front of businesses and things like that in absence of alternatives. So what does that mean? It means that when police officers encounter these individuals, we have to have resources available to them, and we do. We have resources, we have Kodak that's used for health recovery and wellness. We use the Salvation Army not only for the sheltering, but for some of the outreach services they provide.
Gospel Rescue Mission.
Gospel Rescue Mission,
Yeah.
Community Bridges, the VA, El Rio Health Clinic. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of resources out
Right.
there. We provide rides to those outreach and services and shelters, and we also provide free bus tokens that they can use to get to these places as well.
So, Chief, I have to tell you, having worked with your folks for quite a while, and even since that time, hearing, some of the stories of the things that your folks have done, your officers have done
amazing.
with and for the homeless community is, it's just downright heartwarming.
Yes.
It's amazing the lengths to which some of our officers have gone to help people. So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, because I think a lot of people think, the police comes in there, they run them off, they treat them badly, and that's not been my experience at all. My experience has been there's tremendous amount of compassion and desire to help people who truly are looking for and desiring help. There's some people that just get away from me. They don't want to talk to you, and but there's some people that genuinely want some help and are looking for some help. And your officers have done a great job of providing that. Is there anything you can speak to relative to that?
Well, like you, Terry, I'm very proud of the efforts that our officers are doing out there, and they do bring that compassion with them. And I think what fuels that is really our mission statement. A mission statement you had a lot to do with when we talked about providing unparalleled service and unwavering protection and doing that with uncompromised integrity. And I think they take it to heart. They really realize that this isn't a crime problem. This isn't something that's really law enforcement related, but we're there to help. We're public servants, after all. Really, that's the title we operate under, right? So we've identified some individuals who really take this is their calling. They like to help these folks. So I have officers that are driving around with trunks full of sweaters and jackets and just other personal hygiene stuff that they hand out to these folks, and they're very popular with the group. But more importantly, they're able to actually get them to the resources they need.
Yeah,
So
and that's the key. Isn't
that's
it?
the key.
Plug them in and get them the help that they need, because there's either mental health issues, often, I shouldn't say always, but often there's mental health issues, there's drug addiction issues, and if those underlying issues aren't dealt with, they're not going away.
Correct.
Yeah.
Another thing we started doing is we actually started partnering up with some of these outreach services, and we're going to the sites as teams, assessing the needs of the homeless. So maybe it's a housing issue, and we have somebody there from that particular outreach service that can get them plugged into that. Or maybe it's
Excellent.
Somebody has an issue, a medical issue they need attended to. They have bad teeth or whatever. We can get them the resources they need.
Yeah.
During the monsoon season, our biggest concern is people sleeping in the washes or under bridges and stuff. Before that happens, we go out and we identify those camps. We tell them how dangerous it is to be in that area. We give them 72 hours to vacate. Then we follow up and take any enforcement action if we need to. And then we come in and we clean up the place. Because a lot of times they'll have all of their trash out there, and so we want to make sure that doesn't flow downstream and we get rid of it. But we do that every year, and it's right before monsoons and during that period.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand, well, what's the big deal? So what if they're living down in the wash? But what people don't understand is the amount of waste that ends up in the water supply when we allow that to happen. If we let that go unaddressed, if people haven't been into one of these homeless camps, the amount of waste and refuse and needles and bad stuff that can get into our water supply is not a good thing.
It's a public health issue.
It's a public health issue, and it's a safety issue for them.
Absolutely.
Living in the wash where flash flooding could sweep them down the river. So I know there's quite a few folks on the PD that are involved with that. One of my favorite all-time stories relative to going out of your way to help somebody deals with Jason, the Rock, and a couple that were
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and they were at the Walmart, and they were down and out on their luck, and he went and got a hotel room for them and put them up in a hotel room with their little kid. I think it was like a 2-year-old kid or something, and put him up in a hotel room, and then went and met with the Walmart's management and said, hey, these two people are just needing some jobs. Can you help them out? And he got them set up with job interviews with the Walmart. I mean, talk about going the extra mile, man.
Right,
you know,
he did.
Yeah,
He did.
that kind of stuff is that's the kind of stuff that makes our police department such an amazing group of people.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And Jason's just one part of many officers who've done that. The last one we had, and you might have been there when we did the awards recognition, Travis Napier, who recently came to us from the Tucson Police Department, was off duty, and he ran across a homeless individual who's, had, just tore up clothing. I mean, the guy was freezing and whatnot, and Travis sized him up, realized he's about the same size as he, and so he runs home, grabs a pair of pants and a jacket and sweater, comes up and gives it to the guy.
Awesome.
And the guy came and told us. He says,
Yeah.
I know he was an officer because I've seen him out here before.
Uh-huh.
He didn't do it for anything else other than to show his compassion for a fellow individual, a fellow human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's excellent. So we've hit hard, in the last little bit on the compassion portion and the fact that, homelessness is not a crime issue. It's a people issue. It's a humanity issue. But there is some crime that a portion, it's probably a very small portion of the homeless populace that's committing crimes. So talk a little bit about, because this, if you read this whole paragraph here, this whole half page, kind of the indication is, Chief, get rid of all these homeless people, run them off and get rid of them. So, talk a little bit about what you can do, what you can't do, and let's go from there.
Well, we can't run them out of this. They have rights, right? There's something called the Constitution out there that gives them those rights. So we're not going to run them out. But if they are breaking the law, we're going to hold them accountable for it. And here's the thing, there's a lot of advocates, homeless advocates, who say that a lot of our laws are geared specifically towards the homeless: trespassing, shoplifting, disorderly conduct. And you and I both know that's not true. Those laws apply to everyone. So if we do catch some homeless folks shoplifting, they're going to get arrested. They're going to go through the whole criminal justice process that everyone else goes through. But I don't think the answer is running these people out. I think we need to show some compassion. I think we need to help our fellow brothers and sisters out there. And I know that eventually things will get better, but we just can't run them off.
Yeah. So for those homeless individuals who are literally preying upon the community, P-R-E-Y, on the community, because there are certainly those who are sex offenders, those who engage in criminal activity. And you used to have a guy in the police department, Dan Rowan, who knew every single one of them by name, and arrested the ones with warrants and helped the ones out that were good people. Talk a little bit about how you guys go about trying to identify those who are here and just down and out on their luck or addicted and trying to get them help, versus those who are looking for opportunities to take advantage of the good residents of our community.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Dan Rowan, and right before Dan Rowan retired, we recognized the need that once he left, we didn't have an individual who was, well known and liked as Dan was with the homeless community. So we started identifying individuals who had a proclivity towards working with that particular community, and we identified 10 that work the different shifts throughout the day. And they go out there and they regularly keep in contact with some of the homeless folks living in and around our jurisdiction. So when the time comes to identify an individual who's maybe committed a crime, they recognize them. Mm-hmm. They know who they are, they know where they're at, and they know where they're going to be, right? So I think in providing the services that we're providing, we're also getting a very good reputation with the homeless community about our fairness and how transparent we are as an agency. But they know that if they commit a crime, one of our officers is going to show up and arrest them. Yeah. Whether they're under the bridge or they're on a bus stop or they're hiding somewhere, we're going to locate them and we're going to arrest them.
Have you found that as you're building relationships with the people in the homeless community, that they then in turn are helping you out when you need information or you need the location of somebody who is doing something they shouldn't be doing?
Absolutely. And it's all about respect, right? Paying respect. And that's something that I really am proud of our officers. They treat everyone with respect here. And that shows. We had an individual that we arrested who was homeless, and I think, Terry, you mentioned this. He was arrested for disorderly conduct, and he came here to our court, and he talked to the judge about how professional the Marana Police Department was and how they treated him with respect. Do you remember that?
Yes,
that
I do.
And that happens a lot, and it's because our officers truly are public servants. They've embraced that title, and they go out there every single day, with compassion to help these people. And there's a payback, right? The payback comes when we go to them for help, and they're able to provide that information that we need.
Good. So, kind of in summary here, we do have homeless. It does ebb and flow depending on the time of the year.
It does.
It's probably not going to go away. I mean, it's not a situation we can arrest our way out of. It's something we've got to work to provide people with services. A lot of it is either addiction services or it's mental health services. And then for those who are looking to commit crimes, you're going to pursue that, but you're going to work with the people who are trying to be good citizens and trying to get back up on their feet. Is that a fair assessment and summary there, Chief?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add on this topic?
No, I just want to thank the community for their help as well. One of the questions that I'm always asked is, what can we do about the homeless situation? How can we help? I would recommend that the best way to help is to help support the organizations that support the homeless. Give donations to the Gospel Rescue Mission. Give them
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army.
There's a bunch
Community
of them.
Bridges. They're all out
Community
there.
Bridges, big one.
Oftentimes when you give them $1 or $2, they don't spend it the way they should spend it, and we all know what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So. If you got clothing, you can give them clothing as well. But I would rather donate those things to those organizations that hand them out. It's safer that way.
Good. And one more thing that just kind of dawned on me. So you do see in different parts of Pima County, you see people standing on the medians and with signs, waving signs and stepping out into traffic and grabbing a 5-spot or a 1-spot or whatever from the traffic as it's stopped at the light. What's your approach to that? How do you guys handle that?
We handle it as a public safety issue because a lot of times them jumping out in front of vehicles that are preparing to turn or going through the intersection, it poses a dangerous situation. So we always contact those individuals and tell them this is not a safe place to do it, and we try to get them to move. You dealt with this issue when you were the police chief here, and I think we were very successful in educating those what would you call them? Solicitors,
Yeah.
Solicitors, and it was dangerous. In fact, I think we had a situation where a guy got hit or got clipped by a trailer.
I remember
mirror.
that.
Remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Every chance we get, we stop and tell them, "Hey, listen, buddy, it's not safe doing this. So move over to this corner."
So
here.
if people see an individual standing on the medians with a sign, should they call you? Should they?
They can,
Okay.
absolutely, sure.
All right.
Call 911. If our officers see it, they usually just stop and talk to them because they know.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, thanks, Chief. Again, appreciate so much you being with us, and listeners, appreciate you listening. If you do have questions, make sure you send them in to us so we can include that on a future podcast. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please follow the town on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.